Kingdom Hearts 3 is actually pretty good. I know, crazy, right? Now don't get me wrong, this game is not perfect. None of the Kingdom Hearts games are. They all have their good qualities and bad qualities. But Jesus Christ, the amount of hate Kingdom Hearts 3 gets in comparison to like other titles is astounding. Either people try to make the game look worse than it really is, or people misremember the stuff that happened in the previous titles. Sure, if it's not your favorite Kingdom Hearts title, that's fine, but to say that the game is straight up bad is just not true. And I'm here to tell you why, ladies and gentlemen, cause that's what I'm here for. I am not one who grew up with the Kingdom Hearts franchise. I started playing the series back in like 2021 and have been playing them ever since. It took me a while to understand a lot of the story in Kingdom Hearts, and while the main basic plot is not too hard to understand, the amount of lore you have to remember is a bit tough. I also want to give a thanks to Keycast for helping out a little with the lore stuff. He has far better knowledge of the Kingdom Hearts lore than I do, and you should definitely follow him on Twitter cause he has a lot of tweets about certain topics explained. To start things off, I want to give a huge praise to the visuals. This game looks absolutely fantastic. Every world in the game is pretty detailed with a lot of neat things to look at and interact with. The character models look really good being translated from the PS2 to the PS4 look. When the game was first teased, it was originally supposed to be made with the Luminous engine, which is one of the worst engines to be ever created by human beings, and changed it to the Unreal Engine 4. So yeah, good job. I will be playing the game on Critical, which is the hardest difficulty of the game, and that's for a few reasons, which I will get to later. And I will be talking about the full game Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind. I will not compare base KH3 with 1FM and 2FM, cause that would be pretty stupid. The game starts off with Xehanort and Ericus playing chess when they were kids. We get insight that Xehanort has been interested in knowing about what happens when you summon Kingdom Hearts ever since he was a kid. It's also a great setup showcasing the chess pieces representing the 7 lights and 13 darknesses. A long game that Xehanort has been playing and which is also important for the story of the game. We dive into the heart with the game showing images of past games, showcasing the huge journey that you went through. And then we get to fight off Darkseid. Now I will admit that the fight between Darkseid isn't really as exciting as the tutorial boss in Kingdom Hearts 2. It's pretty similar to the fight against him in the first game, where you just hit him a bunch until he's dead. Though on Critical he is a bit more tough. If you just wail on him without paying attention, you will just die. So you have to be extra careful when fighting the guy. The game continues right on where 0.2 left off, with Yensid explaining that Sora has lost all of his powers. However, one important ability that he has to learn will be the power of waking. If you remember, the power of waking is an ability which allows you to wake sleeping hearts. Sora and Riku were supposed to unlock it in Dream Drop Distance. Riku was able to unlock it, but Sora did not. And Sora unlocking the power of waking is very important due to it being an ability that is very useful. Yensid suggests that Sora goes to visit Hercules, which is not a bad idea because Hercules was also someone who lost all of his powers and regained it back in Kingdom Hearts 2. And Sora has to regain all of his strength. They don't expect a full recovery, but it's very important for Sora to unlock the power of waking as soon as possible. So Sora, Donald and Goofy make their way to the Gummy Ship, but can't get there because all the old highways are closed. In this game, Sora is using his Keyblade to guide him to his destinations, so that he's able to learn certain things from each world, as to say, may his heart be his guiding key. So the first world we visit will be Olympus. Now, here is the thing that a lot of people have brought up. Kingdom Hearts 3 does not start off with a slow prologue that starts off in an original world, like in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. These locations are like home. You familiarize with them and get a good feel on the game. There are people who automatically dismiss it as a bad quality of the game. Now, here is the thing. Just because Kingdom Hearts 3 does not have a long prologue world, does not mean it's a bad thing. In the context of the story, we are in a hurry. Sora has to unlock the power of waking and recover his strength as soon as possible, or else the organization will cause havoc around the world. A lot of games do that they get you right into the action and don't waste their time. The reason might be also because back when the games came out, people were complaining that the prologues were too long. So this game was trying to avoid that, and Olympus is already a pretty famous world in the Kingdom Hearts franchise, cause it's the one world that appeared in almost every game, so the player is already familiar with it. It makes so much sense that the game would start off in Olympus. Now, before we continue with the story, I want to talk about the gameplay of Kingdom Hearts 3. I think Kingdom Hearts 3's combat is pretty underrated. Now, for starters, Sora does a pretty good job sticking close to the enemies so you are able to land attacks on them. Now, I have seen a lot of people complain that the game is too floaty, and I really don't understand how this is an issue. What it boils down to is the fact that Sora stays in the air when he's attacking enemies that are in the air, and that Sora stays too long in the air, in comparison to Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 where Sora falls immediately when he's doing combos in mid-air. I never understood why this is a bad thing. Not only is it very useful when attacking enemies that are above you which you otherwise could not reach, but also the game makes sure to give you enough tools to your advantage to being in mid-air. In comparison to Kingdom Hearts 2, the game gives you the ability to guard in mid-air and do the air dash ability, so you can also dodge attacks in mid-air. The game also gives you ways for you to target your next enemy so you're not just stuck falling in the air back down before you attack enemies. With the use of air step, it closes the distance with enemies by making you fly towards it so you can start another attack. The game also gives you the ability to cancel your combos with dodge rolling and guarding during them, so that you're not stuck having to wait for the animation to finish in comparison to other Kingdom Hearts games. Maybe it's not your preference, but it's not a bad thing for the game to give you the ability to keep comboing the enemy when they're in mid-air, especially when the game gives you necessary tools to your advantage. Even when you do land on the ground, the game makes sure to continue your combos. While this game doesn't have a lot of combo modifiers that change up how you approach your combos, like in Kingdom Hearts 2 with horizontal slash and finishing leap, but the game makes up for it by introducing these form changes. Kingdom Hearts 2 had dry forms, which makes you able to go into a special form that gives you certain abilities to your attacks, and you can only use them when you fill up this bar. On critical, the situation command fills up much slower, but if you're in the MP recharge stage where you can't use any MP, you're able to fill up the bar much quicker with the ability critical recharge. A lot of people have complained that the form changes have no cost when using it, so you can pretty much use it a lot, but this was done intentionally. The game gives you the ability to hold 3 keyblades in which you can switch them out by using the D-pad. The way that makes this game's combat so interesting is that you can chain together different combos by using these forms and by switching around the keyblades. Say for example, you're using a form change that shoots your enemies, but you want to finish your combo by doing a different finisher. You can switch to another keyblade then right before doing a finisher, and then do the finisher with your preferred keyblade. You can even store up your form changes for a very long time and then use them for the next battle encounter. This game has a variety of different keyblade transformations, and it's fun to experiment and see what combos you can chain together to your advantage. Though I do admit that switching between keyblades is a bit awkward, considering how you have to stop mid-combo, then wait for the keyblades to switch and then continue your combo, cause there's a bit of a delay to that. Maybe it would have even been an improvement if you were able to switch between your keyblades much faster. The game also introduces team attacks, which can show up to your situation commands and do a huge amount of damage. Now here is the thing. Those team attacks are not a bad thing. The issue with them is that they seem to appear randomly. Just stay close to your party member and they might just let you use a team attack. Sometimes they appear when they're needed, but other times they appear after the fight is already over, making you have to either wait for another enemy encounter or just let it run out, not being used at all. A simple fix to that could have been to have a bar fill up and then you can use one of their team attacks. Shot locks and flow motions return as well. Those were previously used in BBS and Dream Drop. Shot locks are very useful to do a good amount of damage to a huge crowd of enemies and do lots of damage on bosses. Some are more powerful than others and they do require a bar to be used up. Flow motions, while they're not my favorite abilities to use, some being more useful than others. The way they worked in DDD is that you use the terrain of the levels to your advantage to do massive amount of damage on your enemies. And it was also pretty good to use for traversing the levels. Kingdom Hearts 3 however seemed to have nerfed the ability to traverse properly. It's very stiff to turn Sora and the levels are much wider to be able to use flow motion properly. There is some workaround, like Air Step, Blizzard or Arrow can be used to go into flow motion attacks. Pulls are also pretty useful for activating flow motion attacks. Guard is also a big improvement over Kingdom Hearts 2. In Kingdom Hearts 2 you have to time your guards before they start doing the attack. If you do it right when they attack you, you fail to perform the guard. In Kingdom Hearts 3 however, you can just press the square button at any time and the guard comes out immediately. Critical mode even gives you the ability critical counter. By timing your guard right before an enemy attack lands, you can then use reprisal to do more damage than normal. Another improvement they've done is when enemies combo their attacks, Sora continues to guard the attack until they finished. In comparison to Kingdom Hearts 2, where if they do a combo you have to guard multiple times in order to block them all. Though guard cannot be easily spammed to block every attack, there are certain attacks that break out of your guard, in which you are able to do a counterattack on an enemy if you react fast enough, or certain moves that can't be blocked at all. It's also pretty neat to see Sora bounce back from the attack, as if Sora is trying his best to hold back the enemy's attacks. Another great change they've made is being able to use magic while moving around, and certain form changes can change up the way you use magic on enemies. I have seen a lot of cool looking fights from people on YouTube by experimenting around with all of these abilities to make the game look pretty stylish with their attacks. Now, while I do like the gameplay in Kingdom Hearts 3, it's not exactly perfect. Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 also had issues with its combat. So for starters, the combo modifiers you get, while not bad, are a bit slow to use, especially Magic Flash that takes 2 seconds before it lands a hit. And the downward slash attack you get from your basic attacks is very slow and sluggish to use. Remind does fix this with introducing a few new combo modifiers that make it a joy to play with. Combos like Aerial Dive is also better compared to Falling Slash by being really fast and hitting your targets multiple times. It also replaces that slash move. It also helps greatly with closing the distance to your enemy. Less Charge is also a great finisher to use, it's pretty fast and responsive. But here is the downside. You do not get these abilities on your first playthrough. You have to beat the game first before you can actually use them, instead of unlocking them throughout the game like 1 and 2 Final Mix did. This might be an oversight, but once you do get those abilities, it's really fun to use them all. It makes the combat a lot better, and thankfully you get to keep the abilities on New Game Plus. Another thing is how powerful magic can be, especially in late game. Firaga is so ridiculously powerful that it can drain a huge chunk of the boss's health. An easy fix would have been to nerf Firaga or give the bosses a higher resistance to magic spells. Links are also pretty powerful. While I don't always use summons in Kingdom Hearts, links are also a good way to just nuke your opponent's health, and they refill your health. Sure, they're fun to use, but an easy fix could have been to nerf them a little bit. Especially since you can nuke some bosses' health points like the giant Heartless in Kingdom of Corona. Another thing is the camera. It can zoom out way further away from your position. It wasn't really an issue in Kingdom Hearts 2 cause it always made sure that the camera stays behind Sora. In Kingdom Hearts 3 however, it looks like the camera is way more focused on what's being locked on, so the camera position can be pretty off. It wasn't really an issue to me, it didn't really give me any troubles, but it can be a bit disjointed. Oh. So yeah, it's time to talk about the big elephant in the room. Attraction flows suck, you shouldn't use them, got it? Okay, bye. Okay, for real though, the issue with attraction is how often they show up. A Heartless will have a green circle thing, and when you hit them you get the chance to use an attraction. Those rings appear in almost every fight, and it's not a good thing to take you away from the normal combat loop to just put you into a minigame and nuke your enemies, especially since you're invincible during them. Yes, they're optional, but it can be annoying when you accidentally press triangle and have to watch a sequence till you can cancel out of them. But fortunately they give you 2 ways to turn them off. One way is on critical mode using the ability Critical Converter, which makes sure you always get a form change but at the cost of turning off attractions. Or you can use the Pro Codes menu to turn them off. What I would have preferred that on normal difficulty you could turn them off from the ability menu, but hey, they still give you away. And once you turn them off, it's like night and day. The level design in Kingdom Hearts 3 is also a step up from Kingdom Hearts 2. While Kingdom Hearts 1 had some platforming elements in it and puzzles to solve, Kingdom Hearts 2 ditched them for more hallway-like level design. Kingdom Hearts 3 not only had bigger worlds, but it also has lots of things to see and interact with. And they brought in some platforming elements back, so that's nice. Anyways, let's get back to Olympus. So Sora goes up the mountain and meets Hades. This time Hades is planning to take over the world with the use of the Titans like he did in the movie. It feels like it all comes full circle with him finally using all the Titans, as we did fight them and Hades back in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. We finally meet up with Hercules and he explains to us that he does not have an exact answer as to how he gained all his powers back.
I came here so I could ask you something. Do you remember the last time we were together? You were feeling down and out. How'd you get your strength back?
That's tough.
but he does note that he believed with all of his heart and jumped in to save Meg.
All I know is that she was in trouble. Suddenly, I wanted to save her with all my heart, but it's not like I could tell you how.
All my strength is gone from me too. That's why I need you. Because I was hoping you might have a solution or something.
I'm sorry, Sora.
This is gonna be important later in the game.
Well, if it isn't Sora and the King's Pawns.
Huh? Maleficent! Pete!
Oh. So yeah, Pete and Maleficent show up in this game. They do absolutely nothing in the game aside from looking for the black box that was teased back in Union Cross. I almost forgot they were in the game cause they accomplish absolutely nothing. Could have just cut them from the game and nothing would have changed aside from the ending scene. Overall, this is a pretty solid first world. It teaches us all the moves that we need to learn and what we'll expect. The enemies in this world are also pretty solid, with having telegraphed attacks that you can avoid easily, though there are some areas where enemies can easily gang up on you cause they come in flying off screen. We make our way up the mountain and fight the Rock Titan. He's pretty solid with easily avoidable attacks. After the fight we make our way to the Realm of Gods, and this battle encounter is a bit awkward. The issue here is if you don't have a form change ready, you'd be spending your time blocking their attack until Goofy decides to do a team attack, so you can break out of their armor. Other than that, every other enemy encounter is not an issue. After that, we get on top and fight the other 3 Titans. This is also where we get to unlock Airstep, which makes it easier to close the distance with the boss. This is a strong way to end off our first world with how intense everything gets during the boss. We even get sucked up in the air and have to fight the tornado in midair. And with that, the first world is done. After that, we get to see how Mickey and Riku are doing in the Realm of Darkness. We get a conversation between them that goes into how Riku felt when he first was here, but after years of growing, he's pretty confident.
No, just... I've been here. I should know this place, but that all seems like another life.
Well, gee, think of all you've seen. All the feelings you've felt. Why, you've done years of growing in almost no time at all.
I remember my first time here. I was so scared. But now my doubts and fears are gone. If anything, I feel exhilarated.
They end up at the beach but find out that Aqua is not there.
Aqua has fallen into an even darker abyss. Somewhere I can't see her. And I don't think we're equipped to dive any deeper than we already are.
Demon Tower then shows up and we have to fight it as Riku. Riku's moveset isn't the best in this game. It's pretty slow, especially since Demon Tower moves around so fast you can end up missing some of your attacks. Though the boss isn't really that difficult. It's pretty funny how after Demon Tower swallowed Riku and then gets saved by Riku Replica, that all Riku got from it was a new haircut. It's so weird that they did that considering after Sora gets his outfit, he just gets a new haircut like a normal person would. I don't get why they didn't just do the same with Riku. It's also pretty bizarre that Keyblades can break in this game. This was never a thing in previous games from what I recall. Like, I get the Realm of Darkness is dangerous, but like every other thing that happened in the series was also dangerous. Obviously this was done so that Riku can get his new Keyblade later on. We make it back to Yensid's tower and report that Sora was still unable to unlock the power of waking. Riku and Mickey come back as well and tell us that they don't know where Aqua is and that she vanished to the Great Abyss. They sadly have no other option but to look for Aqua. Ventus is hidden and Terra is gone. It also does a good job of showing how Ventus's heart reacts to this info. Obviously he's a close friend to Aqua, so him being upset over this info makes him want to go rescue her.
Huh?
But Sora, that's gonna be super hard since you don't have the power of waking.
Huh? Sorry. I have no idea why that just popped out.
Well, it was pretty convincing.
Though sadly he can't, cause Sora is the only one that doesn't have the power of waking. It's something which he is pretty upset with throughout the course of the game. Like, you don't need the power of waking necessarily to go to the Realm of Darkness, but since Mickey and Riku are the only ones who have it, it would be pretty tough if anything goes wrong and Sora is not prepared, especially since he has to regain all of his strength. It makes sense for Sora to be upset over this since he travels to so many different worlds and hasn't unlocked the power of waking, making him feel almost useless. Now, this is something that a lot of people misunderstand, how the power of waking works. The way the power of waking works is it's able to restore sleeping hearts back to its original state, and it lets you dive into people's hearts so you can traverse to their world. The taboo way of using it is by traveling to worlds to chase hearts around and restore a heart from their death. I will get into more details about it later. So Sora gets a new outfit that protects him more against the darkness, and he makes it back to the gummy ship. Sora gets a new phone so he can communicate with others. And we learn that there's important data hidden inside Sora and that Yenzo, Alias and Dylan are back to being somebodies. After learning that Roxas' heart is inside Sora's, they think it would be a pretty good idea to go to Twilight Town. It's not a bad idea considering that's the place Roxas is more familiar with, and there's a computer in the mansion that might have some clues. So now they make their way to Twilight Town. We now get to use the gummy ship for the first time. Now, I'm not really the biggest fan of gummy ship sections in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. I thought they dragged on for longer than they should and are pretty boring. Though Kingdom Hearts 3's gummy ship sections are my favorite out of the three. It tries to do more of an open world approach where you can go anywhere you want. If you don't care about it, you can just make your own gummy ship and attach a lot of weapons on it to get by these sections way quicker. There are a few bosses that are mandatory to fight, but they're nothing too difficult and you can get past them pretty easily. Though it can get a bit boring farming for items to upgrade your Keyblade by having you destroy these meteors. Oh yeah, something I forgot to mention is you can level up your Keyblades in this game. This is pretty cool because it makes every Keyblade useful to use throughout the game and not be abandoned for ones with stronger stats. Now we're in Twilight Town. They have a conversation about how Sora made Roxas in the sleeping worlds and also in the datascape. I guess they have to make Recoded important to the story somehow. Sora talking about carrying hurt is awkward, especially since the datascape version isn't the actual Sora. So I don't really get the point of this other than to tell me that Sora feels hurt.
Huh? It was a test to see if your data version was ready to face the hurt that you carry inside.
Was I ready? I do know hurt. When I lost Riku and Kairi, and later when I lost the Keyblade, and you guys had to go on without me like that? Having no one to turn to was the worst kind of hurt, but that just shows how much you mean to me. Carrying around a little hurt can't be all that bad. Hurting is part of caring.
Then we get to fight some nobodies. Twilight Town is a bit of a difficulty spike considering the Dusk are way stronger in this game in comparison to Kingdom Hearts 2. It does tell you how to use links beforehand, which I believe is their intention, but if you know what you're doing, you are able to get by this without using it like I did. This is also the first time where we get to fight Demon Tide as Sora. This fight isn't anything special really, and it's over after a certain number of health bars. I think it's supposed to showcase that Sora isn't strong enough yet to face off the 13 Darknesses. So we meet up with Hater Pets and Olette, and they agree to help us out to find information on Roxas. This is also where we get introduced to the Lucky Emblems, which are Mickey silhouettes hidden around each world, and when you get a certain number of them you receive certain items. I like these way more in comparison to the Dalmatians you have to find in chests, especially since the Mickey Emblems make you check your surroundings and you have to keep an eye out. I think Twilight Town here is very well designed with lots of people roaming the area and things to interact with, though some people might be disappointed to learn that the only areas you get to explore is this area and the mansion. We don't get to visit the Sandlot or the train station, though they're not important to the main story, and we are only here to check the computer in the mansion. But still, it would have been nice if we got to visit those. I think one of the reasons is also because the game doesn't have any Final Fantasy characters aside from the Moogles, and this game is more focused on the main Kingdom Hearts characters. Heading over to the forest, we get to meet up with Remy the Rat, and this is where they introduce us to the cooking mechanic. You can cook at the bistro in this world so you can get to use food to buff up your stats. Though on normal difficulty you almost have a hard time ever finding a good use for them, but they're good to use on critical. You can go around to each world and collect ingredients to bring them back to the bistro. A lot of people have complained that your MP bar is very low on critical, but I think that was the intention, because they want you to utilize cooking so you can boost your stats. And they do last for a pretty long time. And if you don't want to cook in the bistro, they still give you the option to buy food in the Moogle shop to give you decent stat boosts. Anyways, we make our way to the computer, but as it turns out, we can't use it anymore. We get a call from Yenzo telling him what's going on and that he will be investigating further on the matter. And he mentions that Evan isn't here after he got recompleted again. And they assume that it's possible that he's with the organization. This will be important later on. After that, Ansem and Xemnas show up in an attempt to make Sora open to darkness so they can get Roxas. This section is another difficulty spike simply because nobodies can easily attack you from off screen and don't get stunned very easily, so if you don't know what you're doing you might have to try multiple times.
Herc said, With all my heart. Okay. Then all my heart it is. I'm getting Roxas out. Are you with me? Donald? Goofy?
You betcha!
Now we're off to adventure to other Disney worlds. Here we get a cutscene that shows us what Kairi and Lee are up to, since they still need training and learn how to use the Keyblade, with Merlin teleporting them to a realm where time doesn't matter. This is a pretty cute scene showing Lee and Kairi getting along, and Lee trying to remember what was something important to him.
Oh. Here.
Ice cream? Really?
Yeah, I asked Merlin to pick these up. You know, we did both summon Keyblades. Gotta celebrate.
You're sweet, Lee.
Nah.
What?
Nothing. I just...
You're trying to remember what you forgot?
Well, yeah. Yeah.
It's such a well done scene with the dialogue that references a past game.
Please don't hold back, Axel. Promise.
Of course.
Don't hold back, Lee. Promise? Huh? Are you okay? Lee!
Yeah. Sorry.
You're crying. What's wrong?
Something in my eyes.
Sure, the letter dialogue is a bit weird, and I did wish that they gave Kairi a gummy phone so that she can stay in contact with Sora. I mean, Kairi and Sora haven't really interacted too much in Kingdom Hearts 2 and during Kingdom Hearts 3, despite them liking each other. Meanwhile, Riku and Mickey are retracing Aqua's steps to see if they can find some clue. They try and do a decent job to explain to us what happened and why things are important. And during the conversation, they talk about how the organization has one of their lights, so they think that it's most likely Terra, since the last person who used them was Xehanort. So the first world we get to visit is Toy Box, and I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. It starts off with a fake game trailer that they put in, which had me baffled at first. Pretty funny how they pulled this off. Story-wise, Toy Box is decent. It's not really as bad as people make it out to be. The way they explain to us as to why there aren't any humans in this world is because young Xehanort came in to test out if toys can have real hearts, aka like the replicas, because the organization is trying to create replicas that are just as real as people, so he created a fake world and put the toys in it to do weird experiments. It makes sense as to why they would use the Toy Story world for that, seeing as how the toys in this world are basically puppets that can move around. I find it annoying how people act as if the organization have no reason to be in Disney worlds and are just there to make fun of Sora when that's not really the case at all. They have explained in every world as to why they're there and what their goals are. Yet people just want to pretend as if it's not important and that the organization are incompetent idiots. As for the Toy Story characters, they do interact well with Sora, Donald and Goofy, though it is pretty odd how Buzz acts a bit hostile to them and other toys, when being a jerk is more something I would expect more from Woody. They do a pretty interesting thing with Rex here, where he played Random Rex and talks about Yozora, which is foreshadowing for later on in the game. The toys in this world are worried about their friends and want to help out and see what happened, since they have been waiting for them for so long and no one ever came. So they make their way to Galaxy Toys and try to investigate. And no, it's not just pointless friendship talk between the characters. They clearly care about their friends, so of course they would want to come and help out.
But if the light of friendship is a form of power, the darkness of being alone is a power even greater. Darkness is the heart's true nature.
Whatever you're talking about, I don't care. Put Buzz back the way he was, then get lost.
Or else what, Toy?
Yeah, I am a toy. And a friend. My guess is no one's ever loved you before, because you know nothing about hearts and love.
There are hearts all around us, trying to connect. Your loneliness only made Woody and Buzz's connection stronger. That's the heart's true nature, to never ever let go. Wherever they are, Andy and the other toys haven't let go either. Xehanort, you're so caught up in finding the shadows. you forgot about the light that cast them.
Besides, if we do go back to the real world, we'll never see you again, right?
But what about Andy? You care about him so much.
And he's still right here with us.
Whoa.
If we follow our hearts, we'll find him again.
Something tells me we can't join you on that mission.
That's okay, because you become part of our hearts. So let us become a part of yours.
Thank you.
Now for the gameplay part. They did a pretty good job utilizing the fact that they're small toys, going through vents, running on record players and so on. We even get to explore Andy's room, and I gotta say they did a pretty good job making this room, and there are small things you can interact with. It's not bad. I gotta say it can get a bit annoying hearing the instrumental version of You Got a Friend in Me as the world's theme for the whole time, though the battle theme is not that bad. But then we get to Galaxy Toys, and here lies the issue. The overabundance of mech sections. So throughout the world there are these giant mechs you have to fight. You can fight them as Sora, but it's pretty difficult and you die pretty easily. So the only proper way to defeat them is by using these mechs. It's very gimmicky, going away from the usual combat to just shooting your enemies and sometimes doing special attacks. Well, the mechs themselves aren't bad to use. The issue is they spawn in so many mechs and they have so much health that it can drag a bit. There are 4 sections where the mech is mandatory to use. Once at the beginning, the other time with those dragon toys, one time in the video game world, which I think is not that bad using the mech there, because the enemies do go down pretty fast. And the worst one being this room, where you have to move blocks to create a path up to the ventilation. Other than that, the normal battle sections are okay, and the bosses in this world aren't too bad either. This world isn't really as bad as people make it out to be, but I understand that the mechs can be pretty boring to use, especially near the end. The boss against the possessed toy is alright. Her attacks are well telegraphed and can be easily blocked, though it is a bit annoying that there are other enemies around you have to deal with. Chasing the UFO to save the aliens is a bit annoying, especially since there are mechs everywhere trying to kill you and the UFO constantly teleports around. The final boss is decent. It does a pretty good job trying to stay away from you so you don't have to just wail on him constantly. I even learned that you can die from this block above, which also cancels out his DM. Overall, an okay world. Not a favorite of mine really, though we still have not unlocked the power of waking and Sora is pretty bummed about that. Though it is still important because the Keyblade is guiding us to those worlds. It also shows us what Sora has to learn in each world. Sora is also pretty bummed over not learning any way to rescue Roxas, but Goofy tries to be optimistic and reassures to him that Yanzo is looking for a way. Mickey and Riku give Sora a call and tell us what they're up to. Sora asks if there's a way to save Roxas, and Riku mentions the use of replicas. Replicas can be used to bring Roxas back. This is important information, not only to remind the player that they can bring the characters back, but also because Sora doesn't know about the replicas, since he doesn't remember the events of Chain of Memories, so it's a good thing to fill him in on it. Next up is Kingdom of Corona, which is actually one of my favorite worlds. Sora, Donald and Goofy land there walking through this area. Now, I saw some people use this scene specifically to mock Kingdom Hearts 3 for having no reason to go to Disney Worlds.
Why do you think we came here?
Got me, Donald.
Even though it should be clear that the Keyblade is the one guiding us to these Disney worlds for things we have to learn there. The Keyblade just brought us here and we just arrived in this area. What reason should Sora have to know why he's here? This world follows the movie's plot of Tangled. It is cool to see how they recreated some of the shots of the movie into Unreal Engine 4, but it can be a bit awkward having Sora, Donald and Goofy be in the background sometimes. Other times they're not even involved in some scenes, but though it is understandable why though. Specific things happen in the movies that are also part of the themes that Sora needs to learn in those Disney worlds, which is kinda understandable. Though the times they do actually interact with the cast is actually pretty charming. We're acting as Flint's sidekicks escorting Rapunzel to the kingdom. This is where we run into Marluxia. So as it goes in the story, the organization is looking for 7 lights since Sora doesn't have them yet. The 7 light they're looking for are potential new 7 princesses of light. The reason Marluxia is here is because he has to look for one who has the potential to be one and make sure that she's safe. Now, I've seen someone say that Marluxia Marluxia brings out his Heartless and Nobodies around the areas, basically contradicting with keeping Rapunzel safe. This is a thing people might not remember. The organization do not control every single Heartless that roam around in every world. He controls his own Nobodies, but the Heartless in Kingdom of Corona are most likely Heartless he does not control. There are Heartless that side with the strongest, but not every Heartless is being controlled by Nobodies.
Not what I had in mind, but I'll take it.
Marluxia is asking Sora to keep her safe because of that. The Nobodies are probably there to try and capture Rapunzel and put her back to the tower where she's safe. Even when we first arrive here and see Heartless, it's not like the first thing that comes to mind is the organization. It's when Sora sees Nobodies that his immediate thought is the organization, because they're the ones controlling them. And the times we fight Nobodies in Kingdom of Corona is never when Rapunzel is around, because the Nobodies have no reason to attack her, but the Heartless do. So no, Marluxia does not control the Heartless in this world. Sora even tells Rapunzel not to get involved fighting Nobodies, cause Nobodies are way stronger than Heartless. One thing I do find pretty odd is how Sora meets someone who claims to be Rapunzel's mother, but when we meet up with her again, Sora never even mentions her at all. That's pretty weird. Flynn also just walks off with the crown for some reason. Like, if you saw the movie, then you would know that it's because he meets up with those two other bandits he was working with, but they don't show up in this world, so it seems like Flynn just walks away for like no reason. Rapunzel also gets the satchel, even though we never see Mother Gothel give it to her, which would leave the player confused if they haven't seen the movie. They could have had a discussion with Sora, telling Rapunzel they met someone who claims to be her mom, and that she ran into her mom, and that she gave her the satchel. That would have been a simple fix. Kingdom Hearts 3 has a bit of an issue where they assume you already seen the movie with the worlds that loosely retell the story of the movie. Sure, you don't have to tell everything in detail, but simple dialogues of characters telling us what's going on is a simple thing you can do. Like, even if you don't know about Pirates of the Caribbean, at least they tell you what's going on. Something I also thought was pretty weird is that Marluxia can just do that. Why doesn't he then just kill Sora? Like, I get the organization is not fighting him because they need to clash with Seven Lights, but if Marluxia can just do that, why doesn't he just, you know, kill him? They don't need the 7 Guardians of Light anyways, so they can just use the princesses. Now for the gameplay part, this is a step up from Toy Box. There aren't any weird mechanics thrown in like giant mechs, and it's a simple straightforward path from the tower all the way to the kingdom, fighting Heartless that fit the world's aesthetics. I really like the Nobodies used in this world. Marluxia is one of my favorite organization members and they fit him perfectly. They're weak to fire, so you can cancel their attacks with it, which is pretty useful. You even get to have small interactions with Rapunzel, where if you do all of them she rewards you with AP boosts. The music in this world is also something a lot simpler and isn't annoying like Toy Box. They do make use of some of the environment with Rapunzel, which is pretty neat, keeps things interactable with the characters even if it's something simple. The boss fight against the horse can drag a bit, but it's not too bad. Again, having well telegraphed attacks you can avoid and use to your advantage. When we get to the kingdom we even get the small dancing minigame, which is simple but fun to do. It's a lot more fun compared to Atlantica in Kingdom Hearts 2. There's more things to interact with and you have to time your button presses to rank up your score. The final boss in this world is a bit disappointing. Like, the actual fight is fine, but since you can summon Ralph and blast away most of her HP, I pretty much beat the boss in 40 seconds. A bit disappointing to end off the world like this, but overall, it's not bad. After all that, we get a scene showing Pete and Maleficent who are still looking for the box. That's it. After that we get a scene showing Mickey and Riku talking to Yenzo. He tells us that Evan is the only one who knows all about replicas, and without his help it's not that easy to make Roxas a body. Vexen is on board with the organization because they're also planning to use replicas, as shown with young Xehanort experimenting in Toy Box and Dark Riku experimenting in San Francisco. Though Vexen has other reasons to join Organization 13, which we'll get to later. Next world is Monstropolis, and this one is actually my favorite world in the game. This is where Sora, Donald and Goofy get their own monster designs. The world takes place after the movie where Mike and Sully use laugh power instead of scream power. This world also uses the Unverse, which fits in pretty well. Vanitas is after negative emotion to reconstruct his heart, and using Unverse to scare children and get the screen power makes so much sense. The interaction between the characters is also pretty cute, using Boo's laugh power to power up devices to proceed through the story. Mike and Sully also stay pretty faithful to their characters. The whole world is pretty much having to try and find Boo's door so they can bring her back home and stop Randall from ruining their company.
Maybe it would be faster to just break it.
Oh, that's brilliant!
Hang on!
Oh boy. Okay, so now I want to talk about how people view Sora and Kingdom Hearts 3. A lot of people say that Sora acts out of character by him being very excited and wowing at everything he sees, and that he's being immature and stupid. But here is the thing that a lot of people don't seem to understand. The reason Sora was a lot more serious in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 was because he was looking for his missing friends, and when he learns that something happened to them, of course he gets pretty upset. He's overprotective of them. But it's not just that. Sora also has his silly moments in past games, acting like a child and being excited by things, and not understanding very complex things. In Kingdom Hearts 3, however, he knows that his friends are okay, and he has a better time traveling and appreciating the worlds he visits. Reminder, Sora was always fascinated by other worlds ever since Kingdom Hearts 1. Seeing the guy have a great time and hang out with his friends isn't out of character of him to do. People pretend as if in this game Sora isn't headstrong and energetic, but like he still is. Always willing to do things in his own ways, even when people warn him not to, and risking his life to protect the others. Making Sora look stupid by showing clips of him trying to break a computer, even though they have been breaking computers throughout the world and it always helped them. Or him not understanding the VR device Hero made him, because that apparently makes Sora look stupid, as if they forget that Sora doesn't know how machines work. Sora being excited to be a pirate in this world, because apparently in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 he wasn't amazed by pirates, even though those aren't comparable. Because Sora in Kingdom Hearts 1 was captured by Captain Hook and all of his friends. Why exactly would Sora be hyped about pirates in this world? It's a completely different world in comparison to the Caribbeans. Or how about in Kingdom Hearts 2, where he was kind of excited by pirates? You know that in Kingdom Hearts 3 Sora already knows who Jack Sparrow is, and of course he's excited to see him again. Like, why would Sora, who likes pirates, not be excited by a pirate he knows that is on his side? Just because Sora is excited to visit these worlds and meet old and new friends doesn't automatically make him a dumb, immature brat. Like, what kind of criticism is that? Like, how is it de-aging or lowered IQ levels just because Sora is having a great time? Like, Sora is silly and doesn't understand complex things, but he still takes things seriously and doesn't mess around. Context matters, and in the context of Kingdom Hearts 3, Sora has no reason to be on edge all the time, because he knows Kairi is alright and Riku is a Keyblade master who can hold on to his own. So no, I don't believe Sora was flanderized in Kingdom Hearts 3. Anyways, onto the gameplay part. The levels here are a lot more hallway-like, but it makes sense because it's a factory. The amount of obstacles they add in this level keeps the whole thing very fast-paced. Even the music is complementing to that the level is more fast-paced. It feels like it's a race to finding the door as fast as possible. Of course, there aren't just Unversed here. Heartless are also roaming the area. This is also the level where I realized that certain Keyblade form changes are more useful against bigger enemies. Some Keyblades only stun the big enemies when you do a finisher, but other Keyblades can combo bigger enemies. So you always have to make sure which Keyblade works on which enemies if you want better effects. There's this one room that's a bit of a difficulty spike, cause the walls are not only electrified but also Thunder Heartless do a lot of damage, combined with the big Unversed. Lump of Horror is an okay boss fight. It's not like his attacks are bad or anything, but the issue is it's hard to combo the guy when he's dashing around the area, making most of your attacks just be block and reprisals. He also tanks a lot of your hits, which can make the fight go longer than it should if you don't know what you're doing. Even in the second form, which you do more damage, is mostly him pushing you away while things shooting you from off screen. Can get a bit annoying when I just want to do damage, so it's mostly just you doing more dodging and doing small bits of damage. There is a team attack with Goofy that makes him lose more damage, but good luck getting that when Goofy decides to use it. At the end of the world, we learn that Vanitas has been reconstructing his heart using the negative emotions of the children, and that Ventus's heart is inside Sora's. The bit where Sully and Mike throw Vanitas to another world and shred the door is pretty funny.
Let me go!
Over here, Sully!
Close it, quick!
Overall, it's a pretty strong world. The final boss being just okay. It's not really that bad, but could have been done better. Though Vanitas just doing nothing and letting Goofy talk is a bit bizarre.
The king told us about this. Ventus wasn't able to defeat Vanitas. They struck each other down, and then the king said that Ventus's heart never returned to him.
Stay out of this.
Back on the Gummy ship, Sora is pretty upset that he still wasn't able to unlock the power of waking. Seeing as the organization are steps ahead of them, it makes Sora want to act to save Aqua as soon as possible, feeling pretty useless without being able to help Riku and the king. Like I said before, Sora doesn't necessarily need the power of waking to go to the Realm of Darkness, but seeing as the power of waking is vital for him to unlock in case anything goes wrong is important. Yenzo calls us to update us on their progress, with them having found more of Evan's research. He also learned from Ansem's research that Sora has 3 hearts inside of him, one Roxas, the other Ven, and the third one being Xion, which they don't know about and wonder who it might be. We then get a cutscene of the Queen herself together with Ansem the Wise. Ansem is looking for Ansem so that Ansem can bring Ansem to Twilight Town, in search of a missing girl that he claims he did experiments on and is hiding her somewhere. Aqua, who is unable to fight Ansem because she doesn't have her Keyblade, gets struck by Ansem's Dark Orb and she falls into an even deeper abyss, getting corrupted by the darkness that Ansem shot her with. They don't really do anything with this mysterious girl in this game. It's pretty much there to set up future games, but people do theorize that it might be Skuld from Union Cross. So now this is the one we were waiting for. Arendelle. Story-wise, it follows the plot of the movie, with the villain in this world being Larxene. She says that the reason her and Merlucia are going after princesses is because they're looking for 7 pure light that will help them summon Kingdom Hearts if Sora doesn't succeed in gathering all the 7 guardians. You see, the organization doesn't necessarily need the Guardians of Light to be able to summon Kingdom Hearts. If anything, they'd prefer to use the princesses who can't do anything against them. Getting rid of the guardians would make it much easier for them to summon Kingdom Hearts without anyone trying to stop him. It's either one or the other, so Sora has no other choice but to gather all the 7 Guardians of Light, otherwise the organization will go bother the princesses. So anyways, we do meet up with Elsa and she explains to us that she wants them to leave because she doesn't want to hurt anyone. After a battle section, Larxene shows up and puts us in an ice labyrinth. After that, the rest of the story is just we need to go up that mountain to talk to Elsa. It gets really stale after a while because it doesn't change much beyond that. The whole level takes place on this snow mountain and everything looks the same. After going to the top, we get a shot-to-shot remake of Let It Go, which okay. It's pretty weird having a random musical number in the middle of this, considering past levels in past games didn't need a musical number. Even Kingdom of Corona didn't have one. After that, we try and go inside, but then Larxene shows up and pushes us off the mountain. So we're pretty much at the bottom again. Sure, it's a different route, but the story doesn't change much beyond going back up there. We do meet up with Kristoff, Olaf and Anna, and here again, they play Do You Wanna Build a Snowman while Anna is talking over it.
See you anymore.
Years passed and we barely ever saw each other. Then, finally, it was time.
With Anna afterwards singing the rest of the song with Sora just sitting there, it's the most awkward thing ever.
They say have courage, and I'm trying to. I'm right out here for you. Just let me in.
After that, we go back up the mountain because we still have to talk to Elsa. We're back up to Elsa's palace, but we don't go inside or anything. The others get kicked out of Elsa's palace by Marshmallow, and Anna makes him mad, and then we run from it and fall off the mountain again. But we still need to talk to Elsa, so let's go talk to Elsa. Oh no, it's Hans who kidnapped Elsa, and we never get to meet Hans or even hear him say anything in this game. We meet up with Marshmallow and go after Hans. Anna and Kristoff have barely any presence to this world. It's not like they join up with you in battle. It's not like I hate having Marshmallow, but come on. Anna and Kristoff barely get any screen time or get anything to do. Pretty disappointing if you ask me. Hans tries to kill Elsa, no context given. at all. Anna is frozen, but then Elsa brings her back to life like in the movie. This is a part of the theme that Sora needs to learn, that Elsa's act of love and having a believing heart saved Anna. But god, this works so much better in Kingdom of Corona, because we actually get to interact with Flynn and Rapunzel. But here, Sora, Donald and Goofy barely interact with the cast. They don't even say thank you for what they did or anything like in Kingdom of Corona, because they're so disconnected to everything around them, it feels like we just let the movie play in the background. Gameplay wise, the world isn't as bad. Like, it's still weak, but the actual fighting here isn't that bad. The issue here is that climbing up the mountain takes a while because there aren't many room transitions. And if you die at any point, you have to climb up a big portion of the mountain all over again. The ice labyrinth is way too long for its own good. Like, gameplay wise, it's not bad, but it's just too long because the labyrinth is boring to explore, because everything looks the same. We don't even get to visit the actual Arendelle, despite the world being called Arendelle. We never get to visit the kingdom at all. There's a section where you have to slide down the mountain while being chased by the Dragon Heartless. They shoot at those lasers, which you have to dodge, but the timing on it is very strict and steering is very stiff. If you die during this, you have to do the whole thing again. It's like the motorcycle section in Space Paranoid, which is also pretty annoying. There is one section where we have to collect Olaf's body parts. This is also nothing special and it's just filler. It can get pretty annoying when you don't know where Olaf is and he just spouts a bunch of nonsense that is very annoying.
I'm ready to be found now. I'm over here. Can you hear me? Hello? Sven? Kristoff? Hello? Is anybody there? I can hear you. You're getting closer. Hey, I'm over this way. I'm over here.
The fight between Marshmallow is pretty good. I enjoyed fighting him. He doesn't spam his slash attacks constantly like Lump of Horror with his dashes, and you can get some good hits on him. There is this snowstorm section where you have to navigate through cover to avoid the storm. It's not bad or anything, just nothing special. The fight with Skull is one of my favorite bosses. It's a pretty big spectacle with how huge he is and the attacks he throws at us. His DM is pretty insane, where he summons this huge dark moon that falls on us and Sora and Marshmallow stop it together. Like, it's insane. Strong fight, but overall a pretty weak world. We go back to Yensid's tower to report that the organization are after the princesses. We get a cutscene with the organization afterwards that tells us that Vexen has developed replicas that will follow their commands. While Larxene and Marluxia can fight, Xemnas knows that they betrayed him in the past, so it makes sense for them to have Demyx and Vexen on board in case they try and pull something. While they did get benched and need Vexen for replicas, they still prefer using replicas who can fight. Though Xemnas does say there's another reason why he brought in Marluxia, Larxene, Demyx and Luxord, though they don't do anything with it in this game, it's just there to set up future games. Next up is the Caribbean. Sora, Donald and Goofy get more appropriate looks that fit the world, in comparison to Kingdom Hearts 2, where they just stand out. This whole scenario with Sora, Donald and Goofy being on a small boat, falling down a waterfall and landing in dry land is pretty entertaining to watch. We even get to meet up with Jack Sparrow and chase after the Black Pearl. So this time it follows the plot of the third movie. It's a bit odd that they skipped the second movie, but apparently Nomura had a reason for using the third movie, which he thought is more appropriate to the themes in the game. They do an okay job, at least explaining to us who the bad guys are and what is going on, which I appreciate. But if you haven't watched the movie, you'd still be a bit confused as to what is going on. Like, there's one part where they flipped over the Black Pearl, but if you watch the movie, you know why they did that. But here, they don't explain a single thing. We just see Sora with the Black Pearl underwater, and then we're back in the ocean. This time, Vexen and Luxord are in this world, not for some like experiment, but because they're ordered by Xigbar to fight a certain black box. That black box being the one in Union Cross. Though they do mistake the black box in this world for that one, which didn't really get them anywhere. Even when Davy Jones existing without a heart piques Vexen's curiosity. He explains that he's been hired by the organization so that he can continue his research and that that's all he desires. Later on, it was revealed though that the only reason he was hired was so that he can atone for what he did.
I have been waiting for this. Gave up a normal life in order to plant myself in the organization. And when I heard Xehanort had gone looking for you, I realized it was my chance to find you as well. For you see, I too wish to atone.
He wants to complete his replica program so that he can help create Roxas et Nomine. He was only trying to deceive the others so that they won't suspect anything, using Demyx to help him out in the process.
Men like us. In the pursuit of science, we sometimes make terrible mistakes. Lose sight of our mission to help people. But now I can help someone with my research. Now I can atone.
It also makes sense for Luxord to be involved in this world, cause he's more familiar with it compared to the others. Sora, Donald and Goofy are far better integrated in this world, which also helps cause they're already good friends with Jack, Will and Elizabeth. Having cute interactions with Jack for Sora to learn how to become a true pirate, with getting his own ship and sailing to the war to help them out. Luxord also interferes again to play a game against Sora and Jack, with Jack accidentally revealing that there's a black box on the Flying Dutchman. We also get to fight Davy Jones this time. Like, hey look, a Disney villain we get to fight. He stabs Will during this, which makes Sora so mad, he charges at him and punches him on the head, which I find pretty funny. The way they animated everything is so excited and keeps you hooked.
Then I invoke the right of parley.
No, no parley. Look around. We're a little busy. And besides, I've already got all that I want, mate.
Hilarious. Just like the movie, Will comes back to life and controls the Flying Dutchman now. This is the third time in the game where someone came back from the dead by their act of love and believing with their heart, just like Rapunzel and Elsa did. Overall, the story is pretty entertaining to watch. I do wish they explained certain things without relying on us having already watched the movie, but overall, it's alright. Now, gameplay wise is interesting. We do start off on dry land and fight those two Johnsons over here. Now, fighting those guys sucks. Reason for that is they have so much health and they keep slashing around the area, pretty much missing you for most of the time. And sometimes out of nowhere they do this piercing attack which throws you off guard cause it comes out way too quick and can drain your health easily. And they appear more than once. After that we get a boss fight against this giant bird, and the way to defeat it is by flying on a Heartless and shooting at it repeatedly. It's not very exciting, but it doesn't take forever to beat it, especially when you get on his back and slash him with your Keyblade. After that we get an underwater section. Now this is a big improvement over Atlantica in Kingdom Hearts 1, which is a world I can't stand. It does take a little to get used to the controls, but it's not too bad and Sora does swim pretty fast. I'm not the biggest fan of the finisher, which causes you to stay still and shoot a tornado. I mostly prefer to do the first 3-hit combos repeatedly without the finisher. Exploring this place isn't too bad with finding hidden treasure chests everywhere. Treasure chests fit the aesthetic perfectly in this world and it's used more times later on. The boss against the fish isn't too bad. Not much to say here really, the attacks he throws out aren't too bad. Sora does tend to blend in with the fish, making it hard to see where it is at times, but it's not like it ever brought me any troubles. After that we get a ship and do a race towards Port Royal against Luxord. This one isn't too bad either and the ship does have its own situation commands to speed up and do damage. After landing in Port Royal, Jack suggests that we should collect 300 crabs. It's obvious this is just a reason so we get to explore Port Royal, but it's not too bad. We do get plenty of crabs to collect, and looking for the right routes does wrap it up quicker. The game even stops you once you collect 500 crabs to progress the story. Crabs are used to level up the ship in this game. Yup, this world has ship combat, and it amazed me that they actually made a huge ocean with small islands to explore. Ship combat isn't too bad. Like, it's not Assassin's Creed 4 or anything, but it does do its best to make it a bit interesting than just shooting your cannons, with the ship having weaknesses so that if you hit them you get a situation command and you can use those to do a massive amount of damage. What makes this world so interesting is all the small islands you get to explore, which I would recommend you doing. Every island has something different to do, some bigger than others so that you can go look for treasure chests. You can even go around collecting crabs, which helps you leveling up your ship further. Though there is a trick where you can just keep loading into the crab infested island so that you can level up pretty easily. After that you get a boss fight against Luxord. I thought this was kinda annoying with how many ships he spawns in and he keeps spamming his attacks. I almost died during this, but thank god I didn't. After that, we get a boss fight against the Kraken. Most of it is just shooting at it repeatedly, and at the same time, other ships will appear and you have to take them out too. Nothing amazing, but it's not too bad either. The final boss against Davy Jones though is pretty disappointing. You get to wail on him so many times that he barely throws any attacks at you. The attacks he does have aren't bad, and he does keep teleporting around the ship, but that doesn't really stop you. He does summon the Kraken for you to attack, which changes things up a little bit, but overall, meh. Pretty weak way to end it off, but it does make it up with the entertaining cutscene that happens afterwards. After this, we get another cutscene with Axel and Kairi. Kairi gets a new design, which is my favorite design of her. Wasn't the biggest fan of her KH2 design really. After that, we get to see what is going on with Riku and Mickey in the Realm of Darkness. Oh no, they're in trouble now. After that's over, we get a scene with Ansem and Ansem. And Ansem is like, don't do this, while Ansem is like, you will show me where the girl is. Hater, Pants and Olette are there in an attempt to save him, with surprisingly having Dusk save them, and they're out of there. Then it's revealed that Vexen wants to atone for what he did. Alright, last Disney world, San Francisco. This world takes place after the movie, with its own plot going on. When arriving to this world, we meet up with Big Hero 6 and help them take out a Heartless at the bridge. After beating them, the team feel a bit down due to the fact that they're not equipped to take on the Heartless. But after some training exercise with Sora, they learn some new moves they can use against the enemies. After that, we head out the city and fight some Heartless. They make their way to the bridge afterwards and eat ice cream together, which reminds Roxas about his time in Twilight Town. This is also where Hero tells us about his brother who died in the movie and being the one who created Baymax. At night, it's revealed that the microbots Hero invented are somehow being used again, and they call them Dark Cubes. After that, it's revealed that Riku Replica has been using them, and he's in this world because he's doing experiments to see if they can recreate a heart from data. And he explains that the Replica program has been a success. They're as real as humans. So he uses the original Baymax chip for his experiment. At this point I have to note that one criticism I've heard is that the organization do absolutely nothing in each world and are only there to roast Sora. But as you can see, that's entirely not true. Every organization member who traveled to each world had a specific role to play. Xigbar was spying on Maleficent and Pete because they were looking for the black box. Young Xehanort was in Toy Box because he was trying to do experiments for the Replica program. Marluxia was in Kingdom of Corona because he was looking for a potential Princess of Heart. Same with Larxene in Arendelle. Vanitas was in Monstropolis so that he can collect negative emotions to reconstruct his heart. Luxord was in the Caribbean because he was ordered by Xigbar to look for a black box. They're not a bunch of incompetent fools who are just generic cartoon villains or whatever people want to make you believe. If anything, they're more involved in each world in comparison to Kingdom Hearts 2, where half of the game is spent with Pete trying to turn people into Heartless, but when they do show up, it's about turning people into Heartless. After that fiasco, we're fighting an evil version of Baymax, who is the original version of Baymax from the original movie, which I think is a pretty interesting idea. After they beat him, he's like, we have to destroy the chip, it's the only way. But then afterwards he created another Baymax anyways. Okay. Like, if you have noticed, the story has come and gone like very quickly, because this is also the shortest world in the game. Gameplay part is where it's pretty disappointing. I think both Arendelle and San Francisco are the weakest worlds in this game. While fighting Heartless is all well and good, the actual world is underutilized. We get one big area to explore, which is this big city, but they don't really do anything with it, by comparison to the Caribbean, where they do actually utilize the big world. Sora gets a VR device and does a training section which is fun to play through, and after that we explore the city and fight this big Heartless, which isn't bad either. Issues then come at night, where we're tasked to go after the Dark Cubes, but the game doesn't give you any waypoint, so if you don't know where you have to go, you'd just be aimlessly walking around and fighting Heartless until Hero decides to give you a waypoint. The actual boss against the Dark Cube is not that bad, it's actually another favorite of mine, really saying something when I have fun blocking its attacks and timing them right. After that, we gotta go save the others from the Dark Cube. And the issue with Gogo is that if you don't know where the giant ball is so you can save her, you just be looking like an idiot, aimlessly walking around not knowing what to do. The others are easy to rescue though, with each having a different way to free them. After that, we get a boss fight against Dark Baymax, and we don't actually fight him directly. We get to ride on Baymax's back and chase it while shooting at him. Shooting at him is pretty lame because it barely does any damage, making you just hope you get to fill up the situation command quickly so you can do more damage. And that's all it does. This big world is not used at all anymore. All you can really do is collect chests and find lucky emblems, but other than that there's nothing to do. It's also the shortest world to play in comparison to the other ones. What they could have done is utilize its superhero mechanic and give us missions and crimes to stop around the city or something. You know, more than just nothing. It's pretty much a waste of a city, and a pretty weak way to end off the Disney worlds. Now that we have done all the Disney worlds, it's time to go to the Realm of Darkness. We don't have the power of waking unlocked, but Riku and Mickey are in trouble, so we have no choice but to go and find a way to help them. We end up on Destiny Island and find the Keyblade Aqua had left behind, and it reveals to us a door to the Realm of Darkness. Donald and Goofy stay behind and Sora decides to go in there alone. But then, oh no, it's Anti-Aqua from the trailers. Honestly, if they didn't hype her up in the trailers, this would have been more forgivable, because it made it seem like a much bigger deal than it actually ended up being. We get another boss fight with Demon Tower, with Aqua sometimes showing up to ruin our day. And then we summon Sora and he jumps in like Kirito and it's like, hey Riku, I'm gonna go stop Aqua myself. Like, seriously? You're gonna try and stop Aqua all by yourself? Couldn't it be a 2v1 battle to showcase how strong Aqua really is? That it needs 2 people to beat her? But okay, fine. A 1v1 boss fight with Anti-Aqua. And this boss fight is so easy. Again, the attacks she throws at us aren't bad, but the issue is the amount of opening she has. There's one point where she just decides to teleport around the room, and if you spam the attack button, you'll eventually hit her and you can continue comboing her. After defeating her though, I do love her reaction to being back in the Realm of Light.
When did they fall to darkness?
You're in the Realm of Light.
You're home! You're home!
Welcome home!
We did it!
So now it's time to go wake up Ventus. Though when we arrived there, Aqua had like no way of waking up Ven at all. I feel like it's kind of weird that characters that are meant to be masters don't have an important ability like the power of waking, seeing as though if a heart falls asleep, does Aqua just have no way of waking them up? I mean, to be fair, we don't know if she went to the sleeping worlds, but even so, I still think it's bizarre. So like what, you guys decided to go wake up Ventus but don't even have the power of waking? Why did you bring Sora with you then? Wouldn't it make more sense to bring Mickey or Riku with you? But then, oh, it's Vanitas and he tries to kill Ven, so now Aqua decides to fight him 1v1. Now here I want to bring something up. A lot of people have argued that the game has ruined Aqua by making her seem weak than she normally is. But here is something that people seem to misunderstand. The characters have mentioned before that Aqua has not recovered all her strength.
If you want, we can take you back to Master Yen Sid's tower to rest with Riku and the king.
No. I'm ending this.
But you haven't recovered yet!
So she's not as strong as she should be. From how I see it, the reason she decided to fight Vanitas alone was cause she's being cocky and assumed that she could take him cause she had dealt with him before. So it makes sense for her to go down after getting shot by fire by Vanitas. She had a split-second time window to react to his attack, so she attempted to take the shot thinking she could take it. Another scene that people went to show how Aqua was character assassinated is this scene where she suddenly decided to give up and accept her fate by the giant Tornado Heartless. Now, here is the thing that a lot of people are missing. The reason she suddenly froze is cause the game implied that she's suffering from PTSD. She has been stuck in the Realm of Darkness for so long and the giant Tornado Heartless came back to haunt her. Though, to be fair, I don't blame anyone for thinking she just gives up for no reason, cause this is how they presented the scene.
It can't be. No.
They added extra details to the scene in Remind, which should have been in the main game to make it clearer that she's suffering from PTSD. Like, you're not a weak person just because you have PTSD, and it is what is heavily implied in this game. So no, Aqua doesn't give up just because she's suddenly weak and assassinated. The fact I had to defend Aqua in this game, like, we know Aqua is strong, and of course I'm not expecting her to win every single fight, though I did think it was important to clear things up. And then Vanitas tries to kill Aqua, and then we get the infamous scene of Sora unlocking the power of waking. And yes, I am going to defend this. So the reason people are upset is because Ventus is like,
you never lost it. It sleeps until someone needs it. Call to it.
Sora has never lost the power of waking. He has completed all the sleeping worlds in DDD. It was due to him almost falling to darkness that made the power of waking sleep within him. Now, the reason him unlocking the power of waking by him believing isn't an issue is because that has been the theme throughout the game. Sora needed to learn that having a believing heart can solve things as well, as we have seen in Kingdom of Corona, Arendelle, and in the Caribbean. This was set up by the game, and this is the payoff. That's why him unlocking the power of waking by believing makes sense. He used all his heart and believed in himself to unlock the power of waking with the help of Ventus. After waking up though, it's bizarre that Sora doesn't question him looking like Roxas. Like, Ven questions him looking like Vanitas, but Sora just accepts this like it's new to him. Afterwards, everyone meets up in Yensid's tower and they're off to the final level. Now, I do admit that the story is very poorly structured. While we do all the Disney worlds, which is all well and good, but then after beating Aqua, we're already off to the final world without knowing about the others or anything. I feel like it should have been structured way different. Like, what if halfway through the game we go save Aqua, and then some worlds later we go and save Ven, and then a few worlds later we go and check up on Lee and Kairi, and maybe even have a scene with Aqua and Ven, maybe even get to know them a little? Or maybe what if we save Roxas sooner, and with his help we go to the Keyblade graveyard and help Xion there afterwards. And then after beating all the Disney worlds, we go to the Keyblade graveyard. Like, despite it being important to the plot that the 7 lights and 13 darknesses have to clash in one big area, it is kinda awkward having all these important scenes happen right at the end, when some things could have been spread around the game a little, just so that it's a bit paced out a bit better. Like, it's cute seeing these characters interact, but it's not given enough time. Some characters don't even interact at all. The biggest offender being Sora and Kairi, who are supposed to like each other, mind you. They barely interact throughout the game. A simple thing they could have done is give Kairi a gummy phone and have her chat with Sora, seeing how they're holding up and what they're up to. That would have been something. That's like a big thing considering the plot points that happen later on in the game. So here we have a scene of Maleficent and Pete still looking for the box. That's it. After that, we get a scene with Axel sitting on the tower, and then Sykes comes in to tell him he smells and that he joined the organization in the potential to look for a girl they were trying to find. Then we see the Destiny trio on Destiny Island. Riku sits there all alone talking to his imaginary friend, and Sora and Kairi think he's a weirdo. There is one cute moment of those two interacting together, sharing a papa fruit. And now we're off to the Keyblade graveyard. But before we fight the organization, we get a 10,000 Heartless section. No, wait. 10,000 hard. Okay, so I have seen online people referring to this as the 10,000 Heartless battle, but it's not even just Heartless, there are Unversed and Nobodies as well. Plus, is it even 10,000? We don't know, because this bar doesn't show us a number. Plus, this bar means absolutely nothing. We get it to a certain number and then we summon the choo-choo train and destroy all of them. I even managed to bring down this bar all the way down, but it like never goes down to 0. It always stays there, and the only way to finish the fight is to use the train attraction. Is there even an actual name for this battle? What's even the point of this bar here? Though overall, I do enjoy fighting all these enemies along with Donald and Goofy. I do find it awkward that the others just disappear and we never see them again until after the battle. Like, where did they go? Anyways, we meet up with the others and then this freaking cutscene happened. Oh no, it's Terra, but no, not really, it's Terranord.
Today is the day you all lose.
What?
The Keyblade will still be forged.
We're not gonna lose to you.
Why is Aqua taking 3 hours to react? Why is everyone just standing there? Why is everything so slow and awkward? Why is everyone standing there letting Sora getting bodied? I get Kairi being scared of the guy because she's not an experienced fighter, but like, what is everyone else doing? Where's Mickey? Where's Riku? Why are you just reaching your hands out? If Aqua can take this guy on 1v1, then 2 Keyblade Masters plus Sora should easily beat him up. I would get Aqua being occupied looking after Wen, but she's not even with him. Where even is she? Oh, she's standing there? What? Literally, the time she goes to check if Wen is okay is afterwards, when Terra is gone. Like, I'm sorry, what? You cannot be serious. But it's okay, Donald uses Zeta Flare on him and then he dies. And now everyone is bodied. But then a giant tornado Heartless shows up and Aqua, Sora and Riku decide to take it on alone, I guess.
Mickey, Kairi, Goofy, watch the others.
No! We should all get to safety while we still can!
It's too late for that.
Why is it too late for that? So either die here, not being able to do anything against this, or attempt to get to safety and regroup to let the others recover and find another way or something? No? Okay, I guess. But then Riku is all badass and cool and then he dies anyways and everyone has been defeated. Wow, what a scene that was. All of this was an excuse to get Sora to the final world so that he can abuse the power of waking to bring them all back. But before that happens, Ventus's Chirruphy shows up to tell him that someone is keeping him from fading away. That someone being Kairi, because he and Kairi have a strong bond. Would have been nice if we got to see that bond though, but whatever. So this level is just you having to collect a number of Soras. There is this one cutscene that is like important to the lore, but the game decided to make this cutscene optional. Like, when I first heard about the Nameless Star, I was like, whoa, what? I missed an important cutscene? Like, apparently they updated the game so that Naminé's cutscene can't be skipped, because apparently it was optional before, which I guess they realized was a mistake, because she explains to Sora that she's gonna help bring back Terra, which seems like a very important deal. Because if you get back to the Keyblade Graveyard and see Terra back, you'd be confused as to what happened. So thank God they made it so her cutscene is impossible to skip. Wish they could have done the same for the other one. Overall, this level isn't like the most hype thing ever, like the end of the world from Kingdom Hearts 1 or anything. It is pretty much you platforming around this map, having to turn the terrain and collecting all the Soras. And once you collected all of them, it's time to go use the power of waking to save everyone. And good God, this sucks so bad. So there is this Heartless that goes around collecting hearts of the others in each world. And I'm not kidding, you have to fight this guy 7 times. It's the same boss that barely changes his attacks and is very easy to beat. It's so boring to have to fight this guy 7 times in different worlds. I get he's stealing the hearts, but come on, at least change it up a little. But after you're done doing that, you find Kairi traveling to the Keyblade Graveyard. This is what Kairi meant when she said she's gonna keep Sora safe. And we're all back. And then the exact same cutscene plays again, but this time Lingering Will shows up to beat up Terranord. After this, we're now fighting off Demontide. He's not that bad. The attacks he throws at us aren't really anything special. It's mostly him dashing around and throwing Heartless at you, but overall it's not too bad. After the fight, he turns into the giant tornado Heartless. Sora recklessly tries to go after it, but then one of the coolest moments in this game happens. Keyblades from the past appear and they all help you defeat the tornado Heartless. I swear, when I first saw it and all these names pop up, I was like, did they seriously do that? That's so cool. Helping Sora out to defeat this enemy with this music in the background and then the final blow being called Union Cross, it's so good. I did think dodging these balls was a bit odd. It seems like you don't really have enough openings considering how many they throw at you. After that, Dark Riku shows up and tells Riku that he smells, and he summons a bunch of demon towers and even more Heartless. And then Yen Sid arrives and clears the path for us. And here it is, our showdown with the organization. And I gotta say, they're not bad. I had a joy fighting them together with the others. One thing I appreciated is instead of punishing you from comboing the enemies too much like in Kingdom Hearts 2, they instead make the enemy simply teleport away so they can throw another attack at you. I preferred this over Kingdom Hearts 2's revenge value. They also faithfully recreated some attacks from past games, which is pretty cool. It can be a bit of a mess fighting them, cause when you're trying to focus on one character and your partner dies, both enemies will focus on you, and it can get a bit annoying when you're focused on one, but then the other one starts attacking you. I think they did a bit of a mistake with Marluxia and Larxine's DM, cause when you glide they can't hit you. I don't get why they didn't just make them teleport to you for their attacks, which is something they addressed in the data battles. You may have noticed that the Keyblade Graveyard isn't really an actual level. Despite having these challenges, you can tell that they're not built around the glide, cause you could just fly over all of them. One thing I do want to mention though is Marluxia's DM. This is the one attack where guard can fail, and they never bothered fixing it. I tried it out if there was some kind of solution to this, and I spent a pretty long time testing out his DM. Turns out though, the most consistent way to block his DM was guard, dodge roll, guard, dodge roll. Like you have to dodge roll after every second attack. It doesn't always work, but it is the most consistent one. It's clear though that wasn't the intention, because there were times where I was able to guard the second swing, which is so inconsistent. Throughout the game the guard worked just fine. It's just this one attack that doesn't seem to work, and they never bothered fixing. After beating an orc member we get a cutscene that gives them some closure. Everyone's closure is fine because they were characters we have interacted with before, but the biggest one that just doesn't sit right is the return of Xion and Roxas. Like, they did a good job explaining why Xion came back, which is all well and good, but the only time Xion and Roxas show up is during this fight, which makes this whole thing feel very rushed, because it's not like we have interacted with them beforehand. I mean, sure, Sora wanted to find a way to save Roxas, but we never got to learn anything about Xion herself throughout the game, because even after they came back and had their moment together with Axel, all they're there for afterwards is just standing in the background. Xion had like one very fast conversation with Sora, but that's about it. Like, wow, that's pretty weak. There is this one panel puzzle which is lame. Like, it's very easy. Battling Saïx is not really that fun to me. I mean, in general, I hate fighting Saïx in both Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3. I hate this stupid Berserk mode. I'm fine with Axel not being able to beat Xemnas, like, sure, but isn't it pretty disappointing that we don't get to see Kairi put up much of a fight in this game? Like, we get one short section with her in the beginning portion of this fight, and then she gets kidnapped by Xemnas. I'm fine with her getting kidnapped by Xemnas, that's not the issue. The issue is despite Kairi training in a realm where time didn't matter, means she had more than enough time to become strong, and we don't really see the payoff in that. After Roxas shows up, he pretty much does most of the damage during the fight. Like, he gets to stun him every time, but I can't really seem to find a proper opening on him, cause he keeps spamming his berserk attacks. Fighting Terranort and Vanitas isn't that bad though. Terra's return is pretty cool due to his strong bond with Ven and Aqua. He managed to regain himself, and then it's revealed that Guardian was Terra all along. That's one heck of a twist. The final orc fights with the 3 Xehanorts is pretty cool. It can be a bit of a mess cause they all throw so many attacks, it's a bit hard to keep track sometimes. It's not like their attacks are difficult to learn, but overall it's a pretty enjoyable fight. And thank God they give you a checkpoint when you defeat one of them. This scene afterward where Xehanort kills Kairi is pretty dramatic, with Sora getting angry and crying, and Riku and Mickey attempting to wreck him. Now, here is something I have to say. While I do understand having Donald and Goofy as your companions, seeing as they have been on Sora's side throughout Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, I do however think it was the wrong choice to have them come with Sora to defeat Xehanort. What I mean by that is that Xehanort is supposed to be super powerful, and he has the ultimate Keyblade. I think it should have taken a lot more effort to defeat him than just it being Sora and 2 people that don't have Keyblades.
Without Keyblades, it's not like we'll be much help here.
I feel like your companions for the final boss should have been Aqua and Riku, seeing as though you played as them in this game and they're both Keyblade masters. It would make so much more sense to have them be by your side to defeat such a powerful enemy. But aside from that, the boss fight isn't really too bad. I think KH2's final boss is slightly better. But before we do that, we arrive in Scala and we don't even get to explore this place. We get thrown into a boss fight with the 13 clones and it's so annoying having to fight them. Because all they do is just spam attacks at you. It's not like they're that challenging anyways, it's just kinda... And then we do get to finally have a boss with Xehanort. I like how he twists around the environment, so we fight him in those messed up locations. The attacks Xehanort throws at us aren't bad. I mean, he doesn't really throw that many crazy attacks at you, which is a shame considering he has a powerful Keyblade. I mean, he does some things like summon fire pillars and thousands of fireballs, which look pretty insane, creating huge explosions and grabbing you and slamming you to the ground, which is brutal. The final boss against Xehanort is weaker compared to his previous fight. Most of his attacks are just teleport slashes, which is kinda lame. But he does throw one attack at you at one point where you lose your light and have to regain it, which I thought was kinda sick. But I didn't understand what Xehanort's opening were, cause he keeps teleporting and floating around, but then the game kinda decides you can combo him now to fill up your situation command. He even has a pretty insane DN, which like... yeah. Though the final blow is pretty cool, gaining strength from your two pals and shoot a laser back at Xehanort. After being defeated, the game does try to make you sympathize with Xehanort a little. People have mocked this moment, but like, I don't really see the issue with making you sympathize with a villain. Like, at its core, the game still treats Xehanort as a villain. It's not like a redemption or anything. Though I do think it's kinda late for sympathy points. If this would have been developed a bit earlier, this would have been a bit better. Erika's Force Ghost shows up to tell him that he has to give up, and after being beaten he congratulates Sora and the fight is over. But Sora is not done. He wants to go save Kairi, but Mickey warns him that the power of waking is not a power you can go and abuse. But Sora does it anyways, which ends up with everyone having a pretty heartfelt ending, which I think is pretty well done. It feels like we have finally ended this long saga, and due to Sora abusing the power of waking and bringing Kairi back, he disappears. Man, what a journey that was. But it's finally over. Overall, the game does have its issues, but it's not that bad. Sure, the story is not the strongest ever, but I also don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. And the gameplay overall is pretty fun. Though, I feel like I'm missing something. Something very important. Oh, that's right, the Remind DLC! Oh man, how could I forget? So let's check it out and see what it has to offer. The Remind DLC is the worst thing ever. Sora travels back in time to before the Keyblade War happened, making that whole thing completely pointless. You have to sit there and rewatch all the exact same cutscenes, with some having some extra details if the game feels like it. It's not like anything different, it's the exact same cutscenes. You have to refight all the orc members, nothing has been changed. It's the exact same fights, with no like different attacks or anything. You have to refight everyone. Everything you did up to that point is completely worthless, cause now you have to redo the final act all over again. You cannot be serious. Oh my god, I have to fight the Xehanorts again. Oh my god, Marluxia's DM is not even fixed. Oh my god, I have to refight the clones again. Oh my god. Okay, but seriously, the DLC is not that great. The biggest reason is because you have to do most of the Keyblade graveyard all over again. But this time you get the option to play as a different character, which is pretty cool. And you do get some extra cutscenes to give you more details on the story. But like, a lot of these could have just been implemented into the main game. Why do I have to play a DLC that most of it is refighting the organization just so I can catch up to the story? I would have just put them in the main story like KH1 and 2 Final Mix did. We do, however, get a few new bosses to fight. Like, one is just Dark Inferno, but like a nerfed version of him than the one you fight in the main game. You then have to refight Anti-Aqua. Like, what is this? It's not like a new fight, it's the exact same fight. Why? I beat her up pretty easily because I'm on a higher level than I was when I first fought her. We get a solo boss fight with Theanord, which is pretty cool. But Jesus Christ, refighting all the org members and rewatching all these cutscenes is such a slog to go through. Because if you have finished the main story and decided to go to the DLC immediately, it does feel like all that effort was just wasted. I mean, some get a team attack, which is kinda cool. The one cool thing they added is finally being able to explore Scala. And while it is pretty empty, it's still pretty cool with puzzles to solve and finally being able to hear the themes during normal gameplay. Ugh, we even have to refight the clones. No thanks. But then, the clones came to bother the other ones, and we get this one battle section where we play as all of them and have to dodge around and slash the enemies. I thought this section drags on for way longer than it should, and I guess it makes up for the characters not interacting, I guess?
Roxas, was it? You're pretty good. Yeah, well, you're not too bad yourself.
And if you die, you have to do this whole section again. This whole DLC feels like it's just a band-aid put on the ending because people complained about the final act. That's what this whole thing feels like. But oh no, they're all defeated, and then we get a moment where we play as Mickey slowly walking around and sometimes attacking the clones. This section also just overstays its welcome because it's such a drag. Like, get it over with already. I get it. We get this very simple minigame of collecting all the keyholes, which is whatever. But the final section is what we all came here for. Being able to play as Kairi, and oh my god, it's pretty cool. Kairi's moveset is pretty decent. This final boss is also an improvement over the one we got in the main game. Like, it's a lot more insane with summoning fire pits and destroying the ground, summoning meteors that crash on the battlefield. Like, yo! That's pretty epic. And then after that we get the exact same ending again, but this time we see Sora and Kairi in the background. Yeah, whatever. And that was the DLC? Jesus, this is like one of the most mad DLCs I've ever played. While it's cool having all these new things that you can do, they should have just been in the main game. There's no reason for most of it to be in this DLC. And I think we're done. Would I recommend playing the DLC? Well, if you don't care about the data battles, then no, I wouldn't really recommend it. So yeah, as I said before, this game is still pretty good despite the issues it has. I always come and replay this game more often than other KH titles because of how much of a blast it is. Again, if it's not your favorite Kingdom Hearts title, that's okay. But I don't believe I would go this far to call the game bad. And hey, they're currently working on Kingdom Hearts 4, and I wonder what that one's gotta bring us to the table. I am excited for what the future holds, and a lot of people are as well. Anyways, with that said, I hope you enjoyed me rambling about this game, and have a great time.